Has it already been a full year since the last time I talked about a problematic holiday ad campaign by a major clothing retailer? The months fly by so fast, don't they? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the most recent scandal to hit the fashion community, surrounding this photo shoot and ad campaign titled The Jacket, meant to promote Zara's Atelier line. This is yet another story of fashion photography gone wrong, and what happens when brands don't think to consider the implications of the imagery they use to promote their products. This video is probably going to be demonetized, so I would appreciate any support I can get from you guys. If you want to like it, comment, share, watch some of my other videos, subscribe to my channel. Any of that would help. I really appreciate all of that because this video took a lot of work to make, and I am probably not going to make a penny from it, and you'll see why pretty quick. So on December 7th of 2023, international fast fashion retailer Zara released a new ad campaign titled The Jacket. This campaign featured images of models standing amongst color-coordinated rubble, bricks, and broken drywall, holding mannequins wrapped in sheets and bearing white ash face makeup. Honestly, it's a pretty cool aesthetic for a photo shoot. And if we all lived in the same vacuous, apolitical world as the ultra-wealthy brand managers and creative directors of international fast fashion retailers, we might have greeted this campaign with the same slight smiles and head nods given by the marketing team. But unfortunately, we don't all live in fashion land, and we don't all have social media feeds exclusively populated by our 36 closest friends' latest tropical vacations. No, some of us live in the real world, where we are being flooded by images of pain, death, and suffering coming out of the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Palestine. And let me tell you, when these images popped up on people's homepages alongside ads for Zara's latest campaign, people had some feelings about it. Netizens were very quick to make comparisons between these two sets of images, and the campaign was almost immediately met with outrage. Calls to boycott Zara, petitions, protests outside of Zara's brick-and-mortar locations, graffitied slogans condemning the brand, pages and pages of tweets accusing Zara of exploiting the pain and suffering of others to sell clothing. So, in this video, I'll explore what happened. Is this a case of intentional exploitation? Zara's creative team deciding that it's a good idea to use an ongoing massacre to market an Atelier line? Or is this just an unfortunate coincidence that no one at Zara was able to catch before it went live? I've talked about situations like this before on my channel, and I usually chalk it up to the fact that art world elites don't live in the public sphere, and so they're liable to misconnections between what's happening in the public sphere and their own apolitical visual outputs. I usually like to give these art worlders the benefit of the doubt, not because I think they're genuinely good people, but because I think that catastrophic mistakes like this are typically the result of stupidity and ignorance rather than actual malice. In this case, however, I don't think that Zara intentionally designed a campaign around the war in Gaza, but I do think there's something more than an unfortunate coincidence at play here. So with all of that said, and without further ado, let's jump right in and talk about the timeline of events. On October 7th of 2023, the Islamist militant movement Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel from the Gaza Strip, killing approximately 1,400 people and taking 240 hostages. It is very important to understand that not all Palestinians are in support of Hamas. Not all are affiliated with Hamas or agree with Hamas's right to rule, and most certainly, not all Palestinians are accountable for Hamas's actions towards Israel. The Israeli military responded to the October 7th attack with airstrikes on Gaza as well as a ground offensive. This was the beginning of what is now being called the Israel-Hamas War. Notably, not the Israel-Palestine War or the Israel-Gaza War, because the war is not with the Palestinian people, it is a war against this governing military group. At the time I'm recording this video, approximately 20,000 people have been killed in Gaza, and that's not 20,000 terrorists, not 20,000 militants. The vast majority of those casualties are civilian deaths. On December 7th of 2023, 2 months into this war, Zara released a new campaign titled The Jacket. This campaign is the 4th installment in Zara's Atelier line. The articles showcased in the campaign are actually pretty cool. I'd wear this. It's got a lot of handmade detailing, mismatched textiles, some French inspirations with the coat and lace and pearls. But pretty quickly, people started to point out parallels between the campaign imagery and the horrors unfolding in Gaza. And on December 11th, the fashion watchdog Instagram page, Diet Prada, made a post describing the controversy and showcasing some relevant tweets and responses. Sorry, no, not tweets. X's. When Diet Prada weighs in on something in the fashion community, it goes from people are talking about this to this is a whole thing. And sure enough, by December 12th, this had become a whole thing. Here's a few slides from the Instagram account Black Vancouver, which actually posted about this slightly before the Diet Prada post, so kudos to them for being on top of this. I got a bunch of research leads from their post. Fairly quickly after the Diet Prada post, a statement was posted to Zara's Instagram page, stating that the campaign was actually conceived in July and photographed in September, and that the images were meant to show unfinished sculptures in a sculptor's studio, created with the sole purpose of showcasing craft-made garments in an artistic context. The most widely criticized part of this statement reads, "Unfortunately, some customers felt offended by these images, which have now been removed, and saw in them something far from what was intended when they were created. Zara regrets that misunderstanding, and we reaffirm our deep respect towards everyone." So distinctly, this is not an apology, right? It's not even a recognition of wrongdoing. It's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. It places all of the blame on the viewer, and it actually only acknowledges customers rather than the general public. I have a lot of issues with the way this statement is worded, and I'm definitely not the only one who got the ick from it. Along with this statement, Zara removed all of the campaign images from their Instagram, as did everyone else involved with this photo shoot. So far, none of the other key players involved in this campaign have released public statements addressing the situation. Since the campaign launched, there have been calls to boycott Zara, as well as in-person demonstrations at Zara retail locations. There's this footage of demonstrators carrying effigies swathed in white sheets through a Zara store to draw attention to the body bag-esque imagery in the campaign images. Now, honestly, all of this may seem like a bit of an overreaction. Like, yes, they bear similarities to images of pain and suffering coming out of Gaza, but it's obvious, I think, that those similarities are the result of oversight rather than intention. And yes, yep, I agree, I do, but this is not the first time that Palestinian activists have called on consumers to boycott Zara. And no, I'm not just talking about the generalized fast fashion-based criticisms. No, Zara actually has some pretty questionable affiliations. In October of 2022, Joey Schwiebel, who is the chairman of Zara Israel, hosted a campaign event for Itamar Ben-Gvir. He is a far-right extremist member of Israel's House of Representatives, and this campaign event was hosted just weeks before the November 1st election. Ben-Gvir is the head of far-right nationalist party Otzma Yehadit. He has literally been convicted of supporting terrorism, and famously had a portrait in his living room of a man who murdered 29 Palestinian worshippers and injured 125 others in an event known as the Cave of Patriarchs Massacre. He's known for his openly racist, anti-Arab views, and can be accurately described as a violent fascist. And the head of Zara's Israel line, Joey, apparently not only supports him, but has actively worked to get him elected. I'm guessing that Joey was able to host this campaign event because he's quite wealthy, and I'm guessing he's quite wealthy because of his high-profile position at Zara. And so in this case, shopping at Zara, at least in Israel, is quite literally helping to get violent fascists elected. Great reason to boycott Zara, for sure. Really good reason. With this in mind, go and read back through Zara's official statement addressing the most recent round of controversies and let me know how that makes you feel. And I wish that I could leave it there, but unfortunately, we also have Vanessa Perlman, who came under fire in 2021 for her racist remarks towards Kahar Haresh, a Palestinian model from the occupied East Jerusalem. Vanessa is the head designer for the Zara women's collection. Yes, still. And she dresses like a teenager at a music festival in 2013. Vanessa tweeted to Harash, "Maybe if your people were educated, then they wouldn't blow up hospitals and schools that Israel helped to pay for in Gaza." That aged like milk. "The people in my industry know the truth about Israel and Palestine and will never stop defending Israel, and people like you come and go in the end. Israelis don't teach children to hate, nor throw stones at soldiers as your people do." Okay, girl, throwing stones at soldiers? These soldiers? No. She goes on. "I think it's funny that you're a model, because in reality, that is against what the Muslim faith believes in. And if you were to come out of the closet in any Muslim country, you'd be stoned to death." So basically, I know more about your religious practices than you do, and also your religion is bad and evil. There's currently a petition on change.org with over 13,000 signatures calling for Vanessa to be dismissed from her role as head designer, which really seems like a good call at this point, right? Zara's parent company, Inditex, commented that it does not accept any lack of respect to any culture, religion, country, race, or belief. The Inditex statement is really echoed by the most recent statement from Zara, which ends with, "We reaffirm our deep respect towards everyone." Towards everyone. Towards everyone. Sometimes, deeply respecting everyone involves upholding fascism and enabling racism within your corporate structures, and it seems to me that that is exactly what's happening over at Zara. It would be easy to defend Zara by saying, okay, well, that's just two individuals in a massive multinational company, two of 20,000 employees who happen to have garbage political views. But let me remind you, it's two individuals who have very influential positions within the company, who have not been punished or denounced for their openly racist remarks and actions. If you have people expressing these kinds of viewpoints and the rest of the executives just shrugging their shoulders and saying, yeah, they can stay, what does that say about the viewpoints of this company? Zara's executives have decided to weather public backlash and boycotts several times now, rather than fire these individuals for their openly racist remarks or denounce anti-Arab racism in any way. And I think that says quite a lot. I also want to point out items sold at Zara are manufactured in Arab and Muslim majority countries, specifically Morocco, Turkey, and Bangladesh. So the company is apparently okay with their top brass openly discriminating against the laborers who make their business model possible, which is disgusting on a whole new level when you think about it. But this is a photography channel, and I've gotten kind of off the topic of photography, which I feel like I do quite often. So let's bring it back to the jacket campaign, now that I have given you some things to ruminate on. I'm going to talk about the key players in this campaign and some of the factors that paved the way for this most recent controversy. So first off, we have Kristen McMenemy. She was the model for this shoot and obviously had nothing to do with it. Get out of her DMs, get off of her Instagram. She posted on Instagram the day after the jacket campaign launched, and she was immediately flooded by tons of hate messages, calling her disgusting for being a part of it, extremely unnecessary, so leave her out of it, forget about her. Side note though, she is 57 years old. Hope I look like that at 57, I won't. We also have Ludivine Poiblanc, a stylist on the shoot. I don't want to blame her. As far as I know, she was just responsible for the clothing styling. She didn't have a hand in the set design, and the actual styling of the garments is pretty cool, so leave her out of this as well. And then we have Tim Walker. He was the photographer who captured the set. His role, I think, is also negligible in this situation. And then we get to Fabian Baron. He is the creative director, or at least the owner of the agency Baron & Baron, which provided the creative direction for the shoot. I don't think Fabian was directly involved. Now, the way that I see it, there are two elements that aligned to cause this controversy: the imagery in the campaign and the timing of the campaign. Baron & Baron is not responsible for the timing, but they are responsible for the imagery. Now, arguably, the timing is really the problem here, but I'm not gonna let Baron & Baron go without scrutiny. Let's have a look at their website. First of all, it's awful. Guys, you're literally in design. Fix this. What is this? I can't read it. Apparently, they explore new ways to push the edge, ever in search of the fresh, the new, the fearless. They have a page on their website dedicated to Zara campaigns, featuring every campaign they've ever done for Zara, except for one. They have not made any kind of formal statement about their involvement in the campaign and have apparently declined requests for comment made by several media organizations. So they're going for an ignore it until it goes away approach, apparently. We love it when rich people dodge accountability. Let's look at some of the other campaigns they've done for Zara. The first Zara campaign featured on their website is this one, and it's kind of giving Les Mis, isn't it? You know, a musical about the 1832 June Rebellion in Paris, an event that happened in the wake of the French Revolution, in which French supporters of a republic felt that their revolution had been stolen. The king, who many had died to overthrow, had just been replaced by another king, and a perfect storm of economic pressures, food shortages, and cost of living increases prompted the Parisian citizens to take to the streets and revolt. The revolt involved youth, refugees, and laborers, among others, joining the rebellion, creating barricades in the narrow Parisian streets using objects that were available to them. Chairs, bed frames, ladders, tables lashed together with rope. And here in this Zara ad, we have working class menswear in muted neutrals, 1800s silhouettes and inspirations in the clothing, chairs pulled up into barricades, ladders leading upwards. If I was really reading really deeply into it, I would say this symbolizes class mobility, but we're not going to do that today. Large rope, a la gallows, or perhaps being used to lash together barricades, and the inspiration is not subtle, right? There's lots I could say about capitalizing on historical struggles of the working class and fast fashion. I mean, this does give cosplaying the poor vibes to me, but you get the point. Let's move on to the next campaign on their website. It evokes images of colonial-era tintype photography with the overall color toning, lack thereof, and the distressed ornate tin borders. I don't think that this is subtle. I don't think that I'm grasping at straws. Like, the clothing is inspired by colonial-era menswear, particularly military garb. We have some Wild West looking elements in the boots and some Far East patterns in the silky dresses. What is the common thread that ties Wild West, Far East, colonial military regalia together in the particular time period that tintypes were popular? It's colonialism. The next few campaigns on their website are fine. I have no major critiques. The kids' ones are mostly fine, until we get to this one, which I call White Women Cosplaying the Middle East. I don't know, dude. I'm not from the Middle East. I don't want to be offended on behalf of anybody else. Maybe this is fine, but I just feel like it's a bit questionable. It's walking a fine line, in my opinion. Let's just keep scrolling. We've got this campaign, beautiful campaign, fortune teller inspired. We're just gonna scroll on by that until we get to this one, which is a few decades progressed from the tintypes, but still very much giving colonial era photography studio. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we're being very fast and loose with the inspirations here. Each one of these campaigns individually is passable, right? Like, some of them are totally fine, but all of them together paint a picture of an agency that just doesn't care where their inspirations are coming from, or about the particular cultural context in which certain aesthetics have arisen, drawing visually from certain times and places because it's aesthetically pleasing, but doing so without thinking about the connotations or implications that come from these aesthetics. And I bet that they would say that they are paying homage to the artistic traditions of other cultures and time periods, but when you're using those cultures to sell fast fashion and generate profit for an overwhelmingly white group of people, and actively harming people from those cultures in the process through exploitative supply chains and manufacturing practices, you don't get a pass on that. And I know that I'm kind of mixing criticisms of Zara's manufacturing practices with Baron and Baron's creative direction, but I think it's incumbent on creative directors to understand and synergize with the brand profiles of the companies they work with. And this portfolio, in my opinion, does not demonstrate synergy. And you might be thinking, at this point, oh my god, Yvonne, it is not that deep. And I agree, but I think that the lack of depth is exactly the problem here, right? Baron and Baron designs beautiful sets. Like, no doubt about that, these images are visually gorgeous. But they do so without thinking more deeply about the interactions between the surface level aesthetics on display and the colonial capitalist mechanisms that these campaigns serve to reinforce. Like, come on. You're designing a campaign for a company that has repeatedly come under fire for permissive attitudes towards anti-Arab racism, that has built an empire on the exploitation of Arab and Muslim majority countries. And your idea for the campaign is Middle Eastern aesthetic, but with white women instead. Yikes, dude. I don't know, man. I don't know. So now, it's a lot harder to look at this collection of works and then look at the jacket and not raise an eyebrow. I'll just give you my opinion straight. I don't think that they were intending to evoke images of the war in Gaza when they conceptualized this shoot. But I do think that elements of the shoot, like rubble, the stone bricks, the broken drywall, and the white ash face makeup, were incorporated intentionally to tell a story. And I don't think that that story begins and ends with Sculptor's Studio. What comes to my mind, actually, is the destruction of artistic artworks during World War II. And I might be doing a bit of a reach here, but I think we could even say that this is inspired by the habitation of Pablo Picasso in Paris during the German occupation of France. His studio was frequently searched by the Gestapo. That might be what these guys are all about. We have the kind of cubist/modernist Picasso-esque inspirations in the jacket, as well as French inspirations in the lace, the cut, and the pearls. We also have the militaristic black leather gloves and boots, and of course the body bags and the rubble, which unfortunately would have been a very common sight in France during the war. I do think that they were intentionally drawing aesthetic inspiration from a historical human tragedy. They've done that before, and in doing so, accidentally mirrored the aesthetics of an ongoing human tragedy. And this is the consequence of using these aesthetics thoughtlessly. Looking at the rubble and the brick and the blasted drywall and thinking, oh yes, this fits nicely into our color story. It is tone deaf, but it's tone deaf because nobody is listening, and the people who are listening don't care. So, my conclusion. Overall, is this campaign a big transgression? Is it a cancelable offense? A campaign warranting international boycott? No, but it is emblematic of a greater set of problems. It happened because no one cared enough to prevent it, to catch it before it went to print. And it got worse because no one cared enough to apologize, to take responsibility, or to be held accountable. Should we boycott Zara over this campaign? Probably not. But should we boycott Zara for enabling fascism and continuing to employ openly racist and poorly dressed individuals? Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, for taking an interest in this topic. I'll be back next week with a new video. Again, this one is probably not going to be monetized, so if you want to go and watch some of my other videos, that would be excellent. If you want to share, like, comment, whatever you can to support my channel would be fantastic. It takes a lot of effort to put out these video essays. I really enjoy it, but each one takes like probably 20 hours or more. So any support that you guys can give me, I really appreciate it. I will see you next week with a new video. It will probably be Christmas themed, or it might not come out at all. We'll see. And in the meantime, I want you guys to take it easy over the holidays. Okay, bye guys.